Heck, I'm tired. I know, I keep saying it, but it's true, okay? I don't know why, but this past week has been kind of rough. I don't know why. I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping. It's not because of the heat, because when I sleep, it's actually not that hot. And I don't know, I just keep tossing and turning. I don't know why. I've been also dreaming quite a lot, and it's those kinds of dreams that leaves you restless. So not good, man, not good. Also been kind of all work and no play for a couple of days, and that's not good. That's not good either. But it's for a good reason at least. Oh man, I don't think we're gonna go as long as usual today, but we'll see. A bunch of stuff from the Twitter machine, so let's see what happens. Let me bring up my browser. I can actually hide this. Nothing should happen, but you never know. So let's start with something kind of interesting, kind of funny. I have a lot of updates for stuff we've been talking about the last couple of days. So let's bring this up. Oh man, that's why you didn't put on music yet. Whole vtuber the Picura will appear as a prepper in Death Stranding 2. Imagine that. Putting your ocean into your game. Impressive. And people are wondering too if she's gonna get dubbed. I hope not. Oh my god. That's huge, man. That's huge. Collabing with Gacha Games? That's fine. Collabing with Kojimbo? Ah, man, that's big. Not necessarily a fan of the guy, but it is big, okay? I guess this is what we call foreshadowing. Is it really foreshadowing? I don't think it is. Maybe it is, who knows. That's actually pretty cool, right? It's like an Easter egg. And you will see people screeching. Ow! Why is this anime rabbit here? Well, you know. Why not? And we're still seeing it all along. He's been quite vocal about his support that he enjoys, perhaps. The war criminal rabbit. It only makes sense. It only makes sense. That's pretty cool. Don't worry, from now on it's just gonna be... Hell? I don't wanna know. From here on it's just gonna be... downward spiral, so... It's gonna be cool. We also have a new response from Adi Shankar. And it's extremely funny. Because he is trying to explain his position. And I'm like, but Adi, we fully understand your position. And we still disagree with that. We still think it's bad. It's not that we're too stupid. I wonder who the actual stupid here is. So he's glorifying stuff from the podcast debacle from last week, right? This is from a couple of days ago. At the time, the DMC franchise had been dormant for years. DMC4 was 2008. Okay. Why do I need to clarify stuff that this guy is saying wrong when I'm not even a Devil May Cry fan? What's going on? You had the DMC Devil May Cry reboot, which was divisive to say the least. That was 2003, I think. And after that, I'm pretty sure they released the remaster special edition of Devil May Cry 4. So it was not, let's say, as dead as Castlevania, right? Then DMC5 was announced, and suddenly people were congratulating me. And some of the value of the APE I had acquired had skyrocketed. I barely had to pitch DMC. Every student in town wanted it. But I didn't come into this as a business move. This was about flipping a hot property. It's funny that he says this, because kinda this, actually, by his own admission. So it's really funny. I feel like buying a house on a quiet street because you love the view. Then a shopping mall opens across the road. Sure, it addresses the value. Are we sure? It also changes the entire vibe. I am an OG DMC1 fan. I don't love sudden change, and in that moment, in 2017, I wasn't even sure I liked DMC5. There's a lot of to unpack here, and once again, it's so funny that I had to say this when I haven't even finished a single game. I do own Devil May Cry 3, but I never really got into it. So, first of all, a shopping mall opens across the road. Huh, interesting. Funny that you say that. Why would you say that about Devil May Cry 5? Versus the value, but changes the entire vibe. Well, you don't know that. You don't really know that because you don't know if the game is gonna be good or not. I'm an OG DMC1 fan. I'm not saying this guy is lying. I'm just saying I can never believe this guy. I am an OG fan, they keep saying. In the same breath, because it's literally the same sentence. Well, the next sentence. I don't love sudden change. And people have been complaining about this line for the best part of the week. Saying, okay, if you don't like sudden change, why did it change pretty much everything about the lore with your adaptation? Why is it now suddenly an allegory for Afghanistan and immigration? That was not Devil May Cry, that's you. Or, at best, your writers, which is still your fault. Really funny that he says this. By the way, kind of the same thing happened with Castlevania. And they will tell you, well, but the first 2 seasons of Castlevania were actually good. No. No, they weren't. They were trash. The thing is, everything that came after was just so much worse. And they will try to say, well, Addition Car only worked on the first 2 seasons, and they are kind of good, so of course, this guy makes good things. Now, you know who else was involved in the first 2 seasons? Iga. The creator of the games. Most of the games. Most of the recent games. Are they even recent? Last game 2008. So, yeah, I think that was Iga being involved, not Addy being involved. 3 letters, a different meaning. I ended up loving it. The RE engine look initially threw me, but the game was excellent. This is just such a normie take. People don't like the RE engine. That may be true for him here, I'm not saying otherwise. So when I said I was happy, I wasn't criticizing the game. I was reflecting on the shift in what I thought I had signed on to do. I thought I was helping bring something beloved to me back from the dead. Instead, I realized Capcom was already revitalizing it as a full-blown AAA franchise. Addy, we know this is what you thought, because this is what you said. Addy, this is what I'm criticizing, because this is extremely wrong. You're just a necromancer of IPs. You're parading them around as if they were yours, as if you understood them, and clearly you don't. Because you don't know anything about Castlevania, and you don't know anything about Devil May Cry. As a DMC fan, that's a win. As long as the game is good. And apparently the game was good, so yeah. As a producer, it made me reevaluate how I use my time and energy. I don't chase massive APs. That's what everyone else in Hollywood does. You cannot chase massive IPs because people will call you out. How do we know? This happened with Devil May Cry. It's not massive. I'd say it's big. I wouldn't say it's massive. So, if you want to adapt a massive IP, people are going to kill you. And I bet some of them in real life. Because what you're doing with these IPs is just a thing. I go after personally meaningful titles, a cesspit of hatred and lies, and dreams that might never get made unless I use my leverage in Hollywood to push them through. This is not looking good for you. And sure, I do believe this is truth. I do believe this might be happening. Why does this matter? Right? Why do you need these projects? Just leave them dead at that point. That's why I chose Devil May Cry in the first place. I loved it and I wanted it back. I loved it and I wanted it back. Then why don't you know anything about the release schedule of the games? And I'm not talking about DMC5. Let's assume it's real, that he signed the contract before DMC5 was announced, because that appears to be the case. There was still DMC Devil May Cry. There was still DMC4 Special Edition. DMC is not a franchise that releases games every single year. Why did you think? Not double past tense. I'm getting too excited. I cannot think anymore. Why did you think it was dead when they were releasing stuff still? It doesn't make any sense. When DMC was thriving again, at the time, I wondered if maybe my energy would be better spent resurrecting a property from Capcom that actually needed my help. Actually needed my help? Who the fuck are you again? Just a fucking guy that makes shit adaptations. Sit down, baby boy. Like Dino Crisis, Darkstalkers, or God Hand. Rich worlds I love have been ignored for too long. I want to give the spotlight to worlds that need a boost. Okay. That's really spicy. Dino Crisis. I can't believe this guy played Dino Crisis. I am pretty sure this guy didn't play the 3 Dino Crisis games that exist, and it's just 3 games, not a lot. So, this would be a disaster, probably. Darkstalkers. This would be massively Reddit, massively censored, trash, or God Hand. I'm gonna be real, I don't know anything about God Hand. I know that a small group of people really like the game, but this game, when it released, it was completely trashed. Because it was too unique, I suppose. I don't believe Adi Shankar is a fan of God Hand. Is this a dog whistle for Berserk? I don't think it is. I hope it's not. Adi, for the love of God, do not try to love Berserk. It will not save you. I've been ignored for too long. Maybe they died, okay? Because they had to die, and that's fine. And when I joked that I should have done a Street Fighter, I mean, I regret making DMC. I meant that if I were choosing between AAA Mega IP, I might as well go after the biggest. Yes, I know. That's what you said. People are just being retarded on Twitter. Wow, imagine that. But that's not who I am. Because they're gonna get your ass. And they're gonna beat you into oblivion. I recently turned down giant titles. I don't think that is true. I focus on the specific stuff I genuinely care about. Hope this clears things up. It was clear already. But I focus on the specific stuff I genuinely care about. If this is true, if you genuinely care about these IPs, why do you keep changing them constantly for the worst? Why do you keep lying to me, Addy? I don't think that you like any of these IPs because you keep mistreating them, you keep bastardizing them, and you keep completely destroying the lore. Stop it. People hate you for obvious reasons, and nowadays, people hate you for ideological reasons too. Congratulations, you are the whole circus. Because this guy is just a cloud chaser. This guy is not genuine, and this guy has never been genuine. And it shows. It's really obvious to me. Oh, look at this guy! It's evil right-wing Trumpist thing! No. He's showing support for Trump because Trump is the president now. Have you seen the kind of shit he made with DMC and Castlevania? That's not the right-wing thing to do. That was ideologically driven, and not from the right wing, okay? Stop this bullshit. This guy's just trying to pander to everyone, and when it doesn't work, he crashes out on social media, spamming posts about whatever. Because this guy's just this much of a fucking sham. I'm getting excited already. This is gonna be great. Speaking of shams and clowns, I guess this is gonna be a fantastic jump, I suppose. Let's go back to the ADL, shall we? They want to deplatform Hassan Piker. I don't like Hassan Piker, but at the same time, end of tweet. I don't know. I don't think calling for deplatforming is fair. Is the guy breaking actual TOS? If yes, he should be banned. If no, he shouldn't be banned. When we're talking about Twitch, uneven enforcement of TOS. Trash. Absolute trash. I'm not even sure I can read what Hassan said here. So I had to preface this with, this is a quote, okay? This is a quote, and they want this guy to be deplatformed. And this is why. Hassan Abi, Hassan Piker, Hassan the Hung said, there's no comparison between Israel and Hamas. He didn't say Palestine, he said Hamas, funny enough. Why is a militant resistance compromise of orphan soldiers born into a 77-year occupation? The other is a ethno-religious supremacist apartheid state, with nukes doing a genocide backed by the USA. Okay, first of all, I don't know enough about the conflict to make that assessment, so I'm not gonna give my opinion. My opinion is, not my country, not my problem. That's been my opinion since the beginning. But I'm going to highly criticize this guy. Is it my understanding, even though this guy's actually from Turkey, that he's living in the USA, right? He shouldn't be extremely ESL. But I don't think this grammar here checks out, right? Because he said Israel and Hamas. You have A and B. Then he changed the structure to say B and A, and it doesn't make any sense. If you, in the first sentence, you say A and B, in the second, for the whole text to make sense, you need to keep that structure. If you mentioned Israel first, then the first description has to be of Israel, but you didn't. So this is gonna be an L take. Hassan Piker, go back to school. I have here the quote tweet by Gabby Dutch. I don't think this Gabby is Dutch, but who knows. I don't think it's Deutsch either, but I have no idea. Europeans, they all look the same to me, right? Hassan Piker's now saying the quiet part out loud. The Hamas is good, actually. The streamer has 2.9 million followers on Twitch and major profiles in New York Times, CNN, NBC, Vice, Rolling Stones, et al. Also in his wisdom how them should reach younger audiences, I suppose, right? I haven't brought this up. Young people, is this how? And then we have the ADL here, which, for those who don't know, it was created by Jewish people. I'm not gonna go into detail. If you want to know more about why or how it was created, you can look that up. It's eye-opening, I suppose. And they say here, when you openly support the murderous, anti-Semitic, US-designated terrorist organization calling for violence against all Jews, well, I don't know if they're actually calling for violence against all Jews, okay? Maybe that's the case. I have no idea. I admit I'm ignorant. You minimize our fear and grief and embolden estimates. It's time for all public figures and news outlets to call out the support for terror and cease praising and platforming Piker. Now's the time for @Twitch, @YouTube, @X, and all other social media platforms to decide if their platforms are spaces that allow for someone like Piker to spew hatred and pro-terrorist propaganda. The time to act is now. Okay. I do believe that pro-terrorist propaganda would be against the OS. If it's actually against the OS, yes, I'd agree this guy should be banned because he's breaking the contract. The contract between you and the platform, right? Spew hatred? If it's just hatred, you know what? It should be allowed. That's free speech. You might disagree with me. That's fine. I know I'm always correct, okay? You cannot get me. I make mistakes too, okay? I understand that I make mistakes. I'm just trying to be funny. But if it's just hatred, haven't we seen a lot of hatred already on social media? I think it's allowed. And it kinda should be, right? So, I have to say, even if this guy is heinous and he might be breaking TOS, I don't like that big organizations come here and call for the deplatforming of a guy. And to be fair, Hassan Piker is more than just a guy, because he's an Apple baby, right? It's not empathy, it's just self-preservation. This can happen to Hassan Piker, this could happen to anyone, right? Once again, without the caveat of pro-terrorist propaganda, I need to keep repeating. And I keep picking the mic. Hassan picking the mic? No, that's me. I don't know, this is just people I dislike fighting other people I dislike, so... Shrug? I don't care who wins, because I don't want any of these people winning, from either side. Is it wrong for me to say? Maybe, but it's the truth. And it's clear that Twitch has been struggling. It's been struggling for months already. Hassan Piker has the fucking audacity to blame Asmongold. No, Hassan Piker, it's your fault. You're the first to blame, to be blamed, I guess. Do we remember, I think it was back in February, it's been months, right? When they suspended Asmongold for 2 weeks and they had to change a bunch of stuff on the TOS to say, well, we cannot allow anti-Semitic stances, but you can still criticize the Jewish state. It was some sort of whistle wording. Hassan Piker had the audacity to call out Asmongold. Oh, look, he's being anti-Semitic, and the advertisers are retiring. Hassan, the anti-Semitic one was you. I don't know how to tell you this. And as we have been seeing, the ad revenue has been collapsing, and it keeps going down, still to this day. Asmongold went over his ad revenue the other day. I saw the clip on YouTube, I don't have it on tab though. And he was getting literal pennies when this guy was making between $20,000 to $40,000 a month, and he has a massive audience. He was making pennies from ads. I think the highest thing a day that he had was like $7, which is not a lot. And at this point in time, Twitch is just scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's hilarious. Rewind is coming soon to Twitch, and I'm pretty sure that this was a Twitch thing many years ago. I might be wrong, because I cannot find any confirmation from that, but I do remember it. I was never a huge Twitch user back in the day, so maybe I was actually just watching VODs. I don't think I was, but who knows. Only available to use for vtuber members or subscribers of that channel. Hilarious. Rewind is coming. Missed the start of a stream? Need to catch up mid-chaos? Rewind is entering testing this summer. Just to scrub back? No excuses. You are either a subscriber or a turbo user that's $12 a month. And we have this guy here, Mr. mentioning, isn't this free on Kick on YouTube? And it is. It is. Well, the YouTube streamer has to make it available, right? Most people would do, unless the big corporates for obvious reasons. But it's been on Kick for, I want to say, a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. Completely free. Is it clear now that Twitch is completely bleeding money? They're bleeding everything they have? Because they are. And you know what? They deserve it. It shouldn't die. It shouldn't die. That's what you get. This is not going to convince anyone to get Turbo Lamau. Yeah. It's not gonna happen. If you get a subscription for the channel, that's cool. But people are not going to go out of their way just to get Turbo or a subscription just for this. If you get it, it's cool. If you don't, who gives a fuck, right? But speaking of people that are bleeding money and yet they're extremely greedy, this is from last week. But they have new developments, I suppose. From Eurogamer. $80 for Borderlands 4, too costly. Randy Pitchford says, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Not my call. That's fun, isn't it? What? Don't you have $5? I mean, don't you have $80? Randy. This is going to backfire on your ass. And you don't know, you know what? That's what you fucking deserve. For the impending arrival of $80 games might price you out of your favorite hobby. While Borderlands 4 follows suit, Gearbox boss. Funny alliteration. Randy Pitchford has suggested the community should just suck it up and deal with it. If you're a real fan, here's what tell the potential purchaser. You'll find a way to make it happen. If you're a real fan. I guess I'm not a real fan. And you know what? Fuck you. It's not the fans that should be trying to appeal to the companies. It's the companies that should be appealing to the fans, dare say customers. Keeps happening. Pitchford made the proclamation on social media after a Borderlands fan opined, Randy, Borderlands 4 better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't gonna pay $80 and fit this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You're the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to the publisher, to your publisher. And here we go with fucking deflect. But Pitchford begged to be fair. Not my call, he insisted, before dismissing pricing concerns. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. The local game store had a Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991. It's just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. Randy, I don't know how to tell you this, but did you know that the economic situation in current year has nothing to do with 1991? The economy is much more fucked nowadays than in the 90s, even though $80 was actually more expensive in the 90s. Dollar had more value, not just dollar, every single currency was more valuable. Get your head out of your ass. You could buy video games by working part-time, and that was not a big deal. But nowadays, You need to have several jobs to live paycheck to paycheck. You abject fool. The response from Borderlands fans on social media was, unsurprisingly, swift, strong, and overwhelmingly negative. Thanks, now one buy the game even if it costs $70. And 70 is already too expensive. It's Borderlands, for fuck's sake. One person wrote, while another added, it has to be one of the worst CEO replies from recent memory. And he could just have said nothing. Technical Pictures comment, elitist and out of touch. Extremely out of touch. Which person says just find the money? In other words, with plenty more using considerably stronger language. This fucking guy. Just buy more money, it's that easy, just buy a job. Just buy another job, I suppose. Of course, none of this means Borderlands 4 will cost $80. When it eventually arrives, but the industry certainly seems to be heading in that direction. Nintendo got the ball rolling earlier this year when it announced the $80 USD price tag for Mario Kart World on Switch 2. And Microsoft was quick to follow, confirming some Xbox game prices will rise to $80 at the end of 2025. Presumably in time for this year's Call of Duty. You cannot tell me Call of Duty is an $80 game. I just cannot fucking believe it. It's not real. Not only, however, Borderlands 4 publisher Take-Two has relayed a more cautious approach to price increases. Imagine that! The CEO Stuart Zalnick recently reiterated the company's stance on variable, game-by-game pricing, which makes more sense and it gives you plausible deniability. While some analysts have speculated next year's GTA 6 may reach as much as $100, one of the only confirmed prices on Take-Two's upcoming Roster's Mafia, the Old Country, which costs $50, which is a normal price tag. Borderlands 4 pricing details are yet to be shared. So I have to think, it's actually this fucking guy, this Randy character here, there's the one pushing for $80. How greedy can you get? Well, what customers might balk at the rising cost of games, former PlayStation executive Shuhei Yoshida recently suggested the move was inevitable. I think it was going to happen sooner or later. He explained the wake of Mario Kart World's price reveal. Maybe not from Nintendo, but it was going to happen eventually. We live in contrasting times. Inflation is real and significant, but people expect games that are ever more ambitious and therefore expensive to develop to cost the same. It's an impossible equation. You absolute fucking liar. No. People, they're not even human sometimes. Because I'm just talking about companies. Companies keep releasing games that keep getting worse and worse. I don't care about your fucking eye candy. I care about the substance of the game. Nowhere to be found. And you keep making the games more and more expensive. Also, they have the fucking audacity to say, well, since the economy is fucked and we're not selling as much, we need to increase the prices so we can actually make some sort of profit from the games. That's not how economy works. If you don't have a lot of demand and you increase the prices, you're only going to lower the demand. How is this a new concept? This is basic economics. As for Borderlands 4, that's set to launch for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S on September 12th, after Take-Two announced it was bringing its release forward. That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. And we have more development about this guy here from Twitter. This platform is wild. A few years ago, I saw a video of a cat messing with a crab. The cat was pawing at it, and the crab pinched the cat's claw, and the cat just launched itself into the atmosphere. It was insane. The video made you feel everything that dark humor makes you feel in the strongest possible way. So, I retweeted the video, and by the time I looked at Twitter again a day later, there were hundreds of people spending the intervening time arguing about how horrible a person game must be. They contrived that I just have enjoyed the cat's discomfort from the crab pinch, and they invented this idea. They therefore probably wish harm and suffering to all animals. They should probably be murdered along with my family because of it. Wow. Oh, that's social media, it's always gonna happen. I do agree, it's really stupid. Now, apparently, because I got tweeted an AI group fever dream of insanity, I must have been fooled by it, which is, by the way, the worst crime imaginable. But somehow, also, I must be signaling that I'm down for using AI for video games. And somehow, also, must just be a horrible person that cannot be trusted with Twitter or, you know, any of the creativity I'm actually responsible for that brings any of these people to even know who I am in the first place. Guy, please, more punctuation. So they can give 2 shits about what goofy ass video I might be sharing while you sit on the toilet with my phone. That's Borderlands, is it really that good? I mean, thanks for playing my games and thanks for the engagement and all that, but boy howdy. Sometimes you really need to find some perspective and chill the fuck out. At work. And you just automatically block everyone who replies who is a shithead. Anyway, here's the real shit. Never read the comments. Funny enough, he actually did. From Anthony Mirage. I saw something crazy too. He's CEO of Gearbox Software. Made players feel bad and alienated them for not wanting to pay $80 for his game. This platform is wild. Holy mother of essay! Pray for me as I embark the Herculean task of reading this leftist meme, as they say. I'm sure there was a misunderstanding. The absolute sincere truth is that I don't want anyone to pay any more than they should, or are comfortable with, and I always work with the intent and hope that the customer always feels they got the better end of the deal, no matter what they pay. Not a single punctuation here. You need a list 3 to 4 commas. This context was that a guy replied to a post about Borderlands 4 on Nintendo Switch 2 was warning me that if the price ends up being $80, the game will fail. What I was trying to do was explain that it wasn't my call, but if a $10 price increase does happen... So are you going to act that as if $70 for a game is normal now, which is not? I'm not going to pay more than $50 for a new release. So that's obviously where the industry is going. It will be okay, and the Borderlands 4 will be okay because it's a great game. Lamau. And there are a lot of fans who will see the value and want it. I think my trying to shorthand using the phrase real fans triggered some people, and said that it got inflated as it was making some bigger statement. I wasn't. I was just trying to help someone who I thought was sincerely worried about us and looking out for us. Will we leave this guy? I don't think I will, but you never know. And I can say that it was being present to the idea that I was taking the audience for granted, which is a super shit look. Well, you wouldn't be the first one if you did, to be fair. But it was not at all my intent, and doesn't reflect at all how I feel. Then why the fuck did you say that? I understand poor wording, okay? I truly understand, but at the same time... You literally said... Okay, let me mark this. You literally said, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Not my call. Sure, 2 different quotes, but still. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Please give me money. I suppose. The sincere truth is that I'm grateful that anyone likes our games, and humbled that so many fans show up to enjoy and support what we do. As an artist, I don't want prices to go up because I want everyone to have access to what we create. I get that business is a thing, and that the market and the economy are driving prices up, and sooner or later, we're going to have to adapt to that, so that the creative engine can make at least as much as it spends to provide us with amazing content. Okay, stop. Once again, I feel like this is whistle-wording with some shavings of truth. Because this guy says, market and economy are driving prices up. Well, market and economy, hold up. Sure, the economy is fucked. So if your currency is actually weaker, yes, the prices need to go up to maintain the same. Let's call it profit here. The market. The fuck do you mean the market? We're not talking about physical copies here, because physical copies are kind of thing of the past. It's mostly digital. Why would high demand from the market drive those prices up? They won't, because it's not a physical product. Making more, it's not costly. It's not, how do they call it? Scarcity, right? There's no scarcity in digital copies, so it doesn't make any sense. And he also mentions creative engine. I suppose, I'm assuming here, this guy is talking about the development process in general. How many times have we seen companies having way too many people? 20,000 workers on Ubisoft. You don't need 20,000 people to make a game. How many people made the Exhibition 33 game? Exhibition, by the way. Stop it, Freud. Expedition 33, completely different game. Wasn't it like 250 at most? And the game looks alright, graphics-wise. The mechanics seem to be cohesive. I don't need to enjoy the game, but I don't understand it's a complete game. Since some people mentioned that the ending is just kind of a letdown, which, shrug, I suppose. So, yeah, I understand. Prices are up and the economy is fucked. But if instead of having, let's say, 300 employees, you have 3,000 for the same product, you're increasing the cost on your own, because you can be hiring people that are incompetent, because you don't need 3,000 people working on a game. And a game like this, obviously. Whatever the case, I'm here to try to entertain people, and my priority has always been to try to add some joy and happiness and creativity to the world. To whatever extent I succeed at that, I'm grateful and honored, and taking every effort with passion and humility. I recommend you consider the people who create entertainment you enjoy are actual, real people who sincerely are working, try to make cool stuff. No, I don't think these people are actually real. Sometimes I want to believe they're actually fake, because they make the most stupid decisions I've seen in my entire life. I have dedicated my life to video games as entertainment. I have made the choice to be accessible on here. The choice? Dude, you just have a Twitter account. Don't be so high and mighty, okay? I want to let edge cases ruin that for the majority of people who find value in using this medium for a positive connection. Positive connection? On Twitter? Ah, this scope. But I can't help that there's a part of me that doesn't want to at least try to help those that get it, to give some perspective and some dignity. How they choose to interact. Don't act high and mighty when you're the first one to shit the bed. Stop it. It makes you look lame and also gay. Gay derogatory. If this guy is homosexual, well, whatever. I'm not claiming I'm perfect, for I don't deserve any less latitude than anyone else. See? This is the problem. This is the problem with these fucking people. You don't deserve any less latitude than anyone else. I do agree. The thing is, the average person, especially on social media, don't deserve any latitude. People don't deserve respect as a default. Especially when you're the first one shitting the bed. You get what you fucking deserve, Randy. And just to think of others with amount of charity, and I'm often surprised to discover some that jump the worst possible way to consider the thing as doing. Consider the thing as doing that is just counter to my nature. You're not ESL, just add some comments here, please. This is painful to read. Let's see the answer from this Anthony guy. Oh, 100%. Is this guy factually correct and real? Is this guy, as the kids say, based and red-pilled? I have no clue. If you respect the players as much as you claim, and further having doing this for as long as you claim, you couldn't have said, if you're a real fan, you'll make it happen. That's not the kind of mistake a good CEO makes, respectfully. Gaslighting and acting like it was the players who misunderstood what you said is not acceptable either. That's not an apology, it's refusal of accountability. Wait, what? The same guy? I don't think so. But it could be. Far too common. You're a CEO. Surely you had at least some minimal training in public relations. But this statement you made suggests quite the opposite. Trust the cost of the game, then try and justify it by blaming the market. The developers and CEOs, as well as your shareholders and not stakeholders, big ups to this guy, have been waiting for an incident to happen that will allow all of you to increase prices in these games. And once again, it's hilarious. Because it goes against basic economics. If you're not selling the games at $60 and at $70, what makes you think you're gonna sell the games at $80? It's not gonna happen. Because the product is not good enough. You cannot justify it. There's not enough demand for that. Oh, we're selling like hotcakes. We can crank up the Soldier Boy, increase the prices. It's not what's happening. These games are selling less and less. You know why? Because they're worse and worse. Wow, what a concept. Just make a fucking good game for once at a reasonable price. Price? Ah, Chinese. And you will actually sell it. Look at what happened with the fucking Oblivion remake. Nobody knew it was coming out. It was just $50 and it's so the fuck done. Look at the Expedition 33. Sure, people knew it was coming out. It was like $50 and in 33 days they sold 3.3 million copies, which is not a low amount coming from a nobody studio, even though they're former Ubisoft. The market is actually not heading towards the direction of vastly inflated game price points, as you claim. There are multiple game developers who have created beautiful experiences for players for only $50 to $60 in 2025. I just gave examples, I don't need to reiterate. You guys aren't the victims in the industry. The players are as a result of you higher-ups sitting in your executive boardroom with your shareholders, trying to figure out how you can take more money from the players. Ooh, oh my god! I could be louder, but this is literally what's happening. Oh my god! Truth nuke, as they say. Yet through releasing official statement to the tens of thousands of players you alienated with your comments. The best you can simply do is release a toxic gaslighting apology yet again, shifting the blame to the players by acting as the misunderstood what you said. No, you misunderstood me. This is the same guy, it keeps happening. It's the Adi playstyle. Hilarious. It was pretty clear you had zero sympathy for players who were concerned about the prospect of making all of this, now it's Borderlands, costing $80. When you and your team start sharing player milestones over sales, and pay your gaming journalists to act like those figures are true, we'll know if the game does fail, what the major things that caused it. 2. Was your interaction with the players, with your players, the ones who pay your bills, and the brilliant disregard you had for addressing their concerns. As a person, I wish you the best. As a CEO, this was not how you should have handled this situation. Ooh. God damn. God damn, what a burn, my guy. Holy shit balls, Batman. That was cool. That was cool. I think this guy is absolutely correct. Absolutely true and real. There's nothing here I need to add. Get wrecked, Randy. Get fucking wrecked. And let's be real, isn't Borderlands just like big Reddit anyway? Are we sure this is actually a good game? I don't think so. But we're not. We're not. Because there are always bigger disasters out here, right? And sadly, let's say sadly, EA is taking the crown nowadays. Have a lot of EA stuff here. From Yahoo Tech. Mabushi. So bright. My eyes, my old eyes. I'm burning. EA is reportedly tracking down Sims 4 mod, where the changes has fans furious. It's a fucking mod. What do you mean you're cracking down on mods? How annoying can you get? When you buy through links and articles, never gonna do it. Shut up. The Sims 4 from EA is more than a decade old. It's not even new. They're still going strong. The game's large fanbase continues to spend their days living virtual lives, thanks in part to how easily the game can run on modern hardware. Yes, because the game is old. It only makes sense. And it's still popular. There's still new content released for Sims 4. In March, EA released the Business and Hobbies expansion pack, which included, as the title suggests, the option for you to make your own small business within the game. There's also a wealth of fan-made mods for the game that make a variety of changes, such as inserting in-game systems, allowing online multiplayer. That's actually pretty cool. I love when they do that. And then creating a more realistic childbirth. Interesting. I'm not going to buy your fucking laptop. Shut the fuck up. There's the mod, however, that has caused a bit of controversy. The AI Remover 1.0.0 is a mod that changes the diverse character options found in the game into straight and white characters. EA is reportedly trying to have the mod removed from various websites, but it keeps on being re-uploaded, according to reports from Wired. Okay, I do believe it's kind of silly to have this mod, right? It's kind of silly. The AI Remover. Didn't you always have diverse characters in Sims? I think that makes sense, right? But at the same time, I cannot fathom EA thinking this is so egregious. They had to take it out. Come on now. Is this next month? No. You cannot retire. You cannot retire the diversity, okay? We cannot allow the mods that remove this diversity. But if you want to make Shelter Arabia black and not African American, that guy looked literally black. Also lustrous. Sure, that's loud. Double standards. I guess that makes sense. Since for content creator, Danielle Builds posted about the mod on her Facebook account at the end of April. Just came across a Sims 4 mod removes the AI, forcing all primitive Sims to be white, straight, thing, and even changing LGBTQ plus couples into siblings. He wrote, this isn't just a mod. Well, that's a lie, it's literally just a mod. It's intentionally erasing representation, imposing a harmful and disgusting agenda. The ride that never ends! Erasing representation, imposing a harmful and disgusting agenda. Woman, this is a fan-made mod. If you don't like it, you don't need to install it. Nobody's telling you to. Fucking hilarious. The same is always being about creativity, diversity, and making space for everyone to tell their story. This completely goes against that. Actually, that's wrong. Actually, that's wrong. Because it's an optional mod. And for people that want to tell their stories and they don't want to have this content here, they can just take that out with a fan-made optional mod. If that wasn't mandatory in the game, maybe. If that was a game update, maybe you would have a case through that. But no. Harmful and disgusting. God forbid you install mods. Ah, that's reductivist. No, it's not. It's an optional mod. Sure, you can object to the contents of the mod, but it will always be optional. I don't care that people can make Geralt in The Witcher 3 completely black because it's a mod. I'm just calling out the hypocrisy of allowing the kind of mod, but not different mods that would turn diverse cast into non-diverse cast, I suppose, to use their language. If one is allowed, the other one should too, because at the end of the day, it's just fan-made, optional content. The controversial mod was available on one forum, and EA reportedly contacted the admin of the site to remove the mod. Admin took issues with EA's request, calling it an act of targeted censorship, the report says. And that's true. You don't like the sexy mods? Well, you don't have to install them. They should be a thing that people create if they want to. Because it's a fan-made, optional mod. I guess I'm not sleepy anymore. I haven't been sleepy in 40 minutes. EA didn't immediately respond to a request for comment about the mod. It will never happen. The fight over diversity in video games. Oh, shut the fuck up, you people are so annoying. There has been a growing war over diversity in video games. It took a turn last year when consulting company Sweet Baby Inc. was at the center of the controversy by their own fucking hand. Mind you. Sweet Baby Inc. is brought in by video game developers to help with the game narrative. I know. This is happening. We all know this is happening. But Sweet Baby Inc. will tell you this is not happening. Also, yes. Also criticized the developers for seek out the Sweet Babies. This includes script writing, narrative design, and cultural consultations to make sure characters in the game have some authenticity. Some authenticity. That's why they made a fucking French guy black. Do you know that French people are not black? Trust me, I know what French is. I hate them. It's not racism, they're also white. However, few local gamers viewed the company as the source of unpopular narrative choices for games such as Alan Wake 2, God of War Ragnarok, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Lo and behold, they work on these games. I wonder why. Alan Wake 2 and God of War list. I'm not quite sure about Kill the Justice League. I think they did too. It's been a long time, okay? In turn, those games created groups and Steam and Discord channels intended to discourage people from buying any game that Sweet Baby Inc. supposedly worked on. No, it was to inform people that Sweet Baby Inc. was working on those titles, or they worked on those titles. And they went for fucking Carlitos Rambo because he was saying, well, I'm just mentioning this public information that's on your fucking website. It wasn't the website. They removed it, obviously. So people can make informed decisions, which makes sense if you're trying to buy a product. But suddenly that's bad. I wonder why. This built up conspiracy theories about the company, making the scapegoat for seemingly anything negative about the video game industry. Now, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's observation. It's pattern recognition. Okay? It's not a conspiracy theory to say these people that by their own admission are pushing an agenda because the main head of the company keeps saying that if they say they're pushing an agenda and the game is pushing an agenda, the same agenda, it's fair to say they're changing the games to push that agenda. Maybe it's wrong. Sure, I might be incorrect. But it doesn't matter. If they're pushing the agenda and you oppose the agenda, you're gonna be cloning on both. And you're gonna be criticizing both. Why the fuck are you pushing agendas in fucking video games? You fucking lunatics. We all know why. Because it's easy and people are retarded. People will devour the agenda as long as the game is good enough. And that's hilarious because the games are not even good enough for that. Hilarious. Fucking hilarious. But wait! There is more. Dragon Age Master says, EA always spoke about a hypothetical North Cape, full of die-hard RPG fans who would always show up. I think something's wrong with my mouse today, who knows. So you didn't... How did Dragon appeal to them? Oh man, isn't that funny? How's that going for you? Huh? Great, I assume. Dragon Age the Vanguard was a massive success. Lamau. Maybe they were right, but they shouldn't have said it. They are not right. I'm sick of this. They're not right. Die-hard RPG fans would always show up? No, people are not gonna show up to a trash game. Keep releasing trash games! I double dare you, motherfucker! A Dragon Age veteran says EA like to refer to E-Cave, where RPG fans who could be trusted by anything the genre threw at them could dwell. They keep fucking disrespecting you. Constantly. It's endless. Speaking to Games Radar Plus, Bioware veteran David Gader, David Gay, explained it before he left Bioware. His tastes had become somewhat old-fashioned in EA's eyes. I was very vocal in the Dragon Age team, he says. I was always trying to push it toward traditional mechanics. That wasn't very welcome in the EA sphere. He said that EA considers mechanics, the kind that shaped games like Dragon Age Origins, to be slow and cumbersome, rather than the actiony and sleek presentation that the studio was being pushed toward. That meant that the Gator's views were often not very welcome, despite his long tenure at the studio, and work on many of its most famous RPGs. How stupid can you be? I keep asking, even though I understand the answer. That's probably because, he says, EA didn't think the traditional RPG audience was one that was worth focusing on. Get your head out of your fucking ass. Have you seen Oblivion Remake? Have you seen Expedition 33? They appeal to traditional RPG audience, even though they're quite different as RPGs. And people love those, and people bought those, and people enjoyed those. The same could be said of other games like Baldur's Gate 3. He knows that the overseers refer to those mechanics as being in the cave. The cave, he explains, was where nerds went. Nerds were in the cave, you made an RPG, and the nerds in the cave would always show up for an RPG. Because it was an RPG. Are we sure about that? Are you sure about that? I don't think that happened. The devotion to the chosen genre in EA's eyes meant that she didn't have to worry about the nerds. They keep calling you nerds. Probably derogatory. Hold up. Why is this not looping? There we go. Now we're looping. Finally. You didn't have to try and appeal to them, you had to worry about the people who weren't in the game, which was the audience we actually wanted, which was much larger. They keep trying to chase an audience that doesn't fucking exist by their own admission. Because look at that, you're trying to chase a different audience, and when you appeal to those, look what happens. The game crashes and burns, being a massive failure. Because you know what? You alienated your core fanbase that actually exists, and you chase a mythical creature that is not in this fucking realm of existence. I wonder why games keep failing, because they're not appealing to their fucking customers. You get what you fucking deserve. And it happens constantly. And it has to be ideological, because these people are extremely greedy. If they're greedy, how is it that they're not trying to make money? It makes no sense. Really, because it clarifies that that was the audience that EA wanted. They basically got what it wanted. Unfortunately for the publisher, the end point of that philosophy was Anthem, a live service effort that flopped entirely at launch and was entirely abandoned within 2 years. You get what you fucking deserve! The benefit of that was that Bioware was able to refocus somewhat around its single-player RPGs, with last year's Dragon Age developer in the eventual release of Mass Effect 5. Along with the game still in pre-productions of this year, it will be some time before we get to see it. Battleground was a massive flop. Even people that don't talk about ideology like you do, people are just fucking normies, heavily criticized the game for the ideology because it was so extremely overt. Nobody liked the... I don't even remember how to properly describe that strange creature in the game. But yes, it was supposed to be the non-binary dragon character. Nobody liked that character. Nobody. Because it was so fucking annoying. Good job. Good fucking job. Your propaganda is so obvious. You're getting normies against you. You get what you fucking deserve. Great Bowser, you won't be missed. I'm pretty sure I have more EA stuff. But since we're talking about the changes in video games, I think talking about this makes sense. There's a blog post that's been making the rounds this past week, even though it's from 2007. June 29th, 2007. I could never forget June of 2007, how about you? For different reasons though. But since video games have to be fun, the rise of serious games. The serious games phenomenon isn't just about dedication. It's about tackling major social issues and making players reconsider their opinions through games. 2007. It's not me, the silly guy on the internet that talks about this stuff happening, that's pushing for ideology and politics in video games. It's been happening for 20 years. It is not by my hand that I'm once again given flesh. But once again, I need to talk about this. In Game of talks to Paolo Pedruccini, I suppose this is Italian, right? Chris Wang, I am Bagost, and Gonzalo Frasca about activist gaming today. It's nothing new, yet it keeps happening. I wonder why the games since then keep becoming worse and worse. Wow, what a mystery! What a mystery, guys. I would never know, I would never understand. Think back to when you first contemplated getting into the video games industry. The aha moment probably occurred while playing a particular game. That certainly was the case for Suzanne Zuckerman, co-founder and president of Games for Change, the social change / social issues branch of the Washington DC based Serious Games Initiative. While working as a documentary film producer for PBS, a co-worker slipped Zuckerman a diskette. They were not a thing in 2007, come on now. Containing Gene Gasparino's government simulation game, Hidden Agenda. I had played a little Asterisk while in college, the New Yorker remembers, but I definitely wasn't a gamer. A gamer! That all changed after she spent the weekend with a computerized present. It was a transformative experience for me, Sugarman says. I sat up in the attic while the party was going on below. I never want to miss a good party, and must have played the game for 10 hours straight. 10 hours of gaming! Whoa! Is this a record? I learned more about politics by playing Hidden Agenda than by reading 10 newspapers, she adds. Zuckerman continued making films for a few years, but that aha moment wasn't ever far from her thoughts. I made a mental note that it had been something important and powerful, that I'd get back to that place at some point in my career, she says. That moment came in 2004. 21 years ago. When Segerman, who in the meantime had earned a master's degree from New York University's Interactive Telecommunications program, co-founded Games for Change with global kids Barry Joseph and net AIDS Ben Stokes. I do agree, it's AIDS. Yeah, I think the mouse is breaking today. And with the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. Instant Smash Bros. Everybody's here. We act as the primary community of practice for the people, making activist games, documentary games, persuasive games, political games, serious games, social issue games, whatever you want to call them, Sugarman explains. It is not by my hand that I'm talking about this. As we can see here, this has been happening in the hobby for more than 2 decades. It's only getting worse. And some people will tell you, well, what about 2014? What about 2016? No. You saw things happening during those years because they were already happening and they were kind of obvious, but it was not the beginning. Maybe, perhaps, the beginning of open discussion about it, but that's it. Games for Change fills the void Sugarman discovered when she attended her first Game Developers Conference in 1996. I went there to find people working on what they called meaningful games, she says. Much to my surprise, I couldn't find anyone. Nowadays, it seems like everyone wants to do that. That made me realize what an aberration Hidden Agenda was at that point. Sugarman adds, I'm amazed it made it into my hands when it did, because I don't think any other game would have impacted me the way that one did. I'm trying to not collapse here. You fell for the psyop. It's hilarious. Oh, you can use games to push an agenda. Whoa, what if I push an agenda with my games? I don't think that's a good position to have. Who I am to judge? These games are no longer an aberration, of course. I wish they were. Countless examples created by the likes of I Am Bugast, Gonzalo Frasca, Paolo Pedruccini, Chris Wang, and more have got the attention of the press and the public in the US since Sugarman's first trip to the GDC. Even to this day, this game development conference is just insanely ideological. We've seen some clips here. Just terrify them. Terrify them. What can happen if they don't give you what you want for the ideology? But it's not happening, guys. It's not happening. They also got the attention of the mainstream game development community. They're not often in a positive way. Oh, how the turns have tabled. A lot of hatred towards serious games right now, Triggerman says, and that the lack of love could be due to any number of reasons. It could be because of the game, or it could be because they think, and rightfully so, many educational games have been terrible, she adds. Bad educational software has done us a lot of harm. I know they mean, like, traditional education games, right? But at the same time, I can only think about the actual propaganda they push with video games. Funny how that works. And obviously I do so because of the last 20 years. Another knock against so-called serious games is that they simply don't stack out to more mainstream offerings. Most people are less generous with their words. They say that most activist political serious games just plain suck. It is true to this day. This August, PhD, founding partner of Atlanta-based, of course it's Atlanta, Persuasive Games LLC, makers of Presidential Pong, Disaffected, and Airport Insecurity. And that may be true, in part. The level of craft in serious games often leaves much to be desired. Wow, nothing has changed. How could this happen to me? Of course, Mainstream titles generally garner bigger budgets than their serious veteran. I think the main problem is that it is very expensive to make any kind of game. Arthur Straske, co-founder of Powerful Robot Games, a Uruguay-based studio, has crafted such titles as September 12th and the horror theme for Iva Game. Political games generally do not have a financial return, and that makes it particularly hard to produce them with the same quality as commercial work. Funny, because that keeps happening. Because you keep pushing political agenda in what should be just commercial work, traditional games, and they tend to collapse. And you see in obvious how to say this. You see the quality lowers, right? It's so obvious. Swaying, an assistant professor in the USC School of Cinematic Arts, Interactive Media Division, and the co-director of the School's Electronic Arts Gaming Innovation Lab, I don't think they mean actual EA here. Also, it's minuscule budgets and less access to experienced talent as reasons for the discrepancy between mainstream and serious games. It's hilarious. In retrospective, this is just hilarious. That said, Swaying, who designed the redistricting game, and acted as a faculty advisor for the PlayStation 3 game Flow with a zero, I guess, suggests the field of political/activist games is very young. That's not wrong. We need some success stories to prove our value, because right now political games mostly grab headlines and have little real impact. I think it's just catharsis, right? It's literally the same. It just keeps happening. I don't really need to add anything, because what they're saying here, even though it was 2007, or maybe even older, keeps happening nowadays. That's just covert propaganda, I suppose. You don't buy Dragon Age expecting it to be political or ideological, but it is, because you have ideologues making the game. Yet everything else here is just literally the same. Pushing forward. Sway hopes the redistricting game, which launched at the recent Games for Change Festival in New York, one of the success stories that helps push the genre forward. I think something else happened completely. Such a notion may seem a bit pie in the sky, especially considering the redistricting game's content. According to a press release that preceded the game's launch, the game exposed how redistricting works, how it's abused, and how it adversely affects democracy. It provides hands-on understanding of the real redistricting process, including strong intrusive maps, and interacting with party bosses, congresspeople, citizen groups, and courts. Players directly experience how crafty manipulations of lines can yield skewed victories for either party, effectively allowing politicians to choose their voters instead of voters choosing their politicians. Did we talk about immigration in the US? Why did Sway make a game about gerrymandering, and why would anyone want to play it? Knowing someone how redistricting works and what it means can be cumbersome and hard to grasp, Swain replies. However, if she could gain an understanding of redistricting by experiencing it via a fact-based, interactive system, then she may come to her own conclusions about its ramifications. Fact-based interactive system, by the way. Hilarious. Of course, we wouldn't lie to you. I mean, I don't know if that's how it works in the USA. Our goal with the redistricting game is to provide an objective look at the phenomenon and let people come to their own conclusions, he adds. We don't side with one political party and we don't push an agenda. They're political, they're activists, and they're not pushing an agenda? I don't know about that one. We just want the game to demystify redistricting in an incredible way, and we want people to have a good time while playing it. I'm gonna have a good time not playing it. Another game that helps to demystify complex issues, impact society, and promote change is Peacemaker, released by Pittsburgh-based Impact Games in 2006. Presented by Eric Brown and Asa Barank while they were students at Carnegie Mellon University. Peacemaker allows users to play the part of an Israeli Prime Minister, a Palestinian president, make diplomatic security and economic decisions for the virtual country of choice. 2006 or 2025? I guess nothing has changed. Although Brian and Bragg hoped their game would make an impression on the general public, they also hoped it would influence their peers in the mainstream game development community. We really wanted to drive the industry, says Brown. You always wanted to drive the industry, that was a problem. The founder and former co-manager of Issue Design Build in Seattle. We wanted to make something that compares to the role documentaries play in the movie industry. I don't know about that. I don't think there's a... how to say this? I don't think there's an audience for that. Maybe nowadays, who knows? The demographic of gamers, historically, is 12 to 18-year-old boys. Yes, which has grown as the generation got older. In your minds, there's a group within that community that is interested in something with a bit more meaning, a little more depth. We wanted to show them you can produce a game that's just as engaging as anything out there, but also has a positive message and influence. That's the problem. When they say they want more meaning and more depth, they don't mean real-world allegories, okay? They mean more complex storytelling. Don't push politics, like real-world politics, into the game. Nothing has changed. I keep saying that, hoping that finally something changes, I suppose. Ron says he and Bragg chose to make a video game about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Okay, Hassan Piker. Because games are really good at putting people in the shoes of someone else. Something you can always do with something like a news article. Games can empower people to interact with an environment, and they can contextualize events in time. Okay, I don't know about current year, because, you know, it's current year, and everything is just more stupid nowadays. But traditionally, people understand the difference between reality and fiction, and we understand that a video game is fiction, and the news article is reality. Even if you were to play something that's based in history, I suppose, what are those funny strategy games? Iron Hearts, Europa Universalis, something like that. I don't really know too much about those. They have historical bases. It is still fiction, because reality can be whatever you want within the confines of the game, because it's still a game. Me having to explain this every single time is just hilarious. Sigma agrees. Games can help people put themselves in perspectives otherwise unavailable to them. They can let people accept the behaviors or try roles they've never tried before. Yeah, but it's just fiction. It's just fiction. Speaking of fiction, piss off, bot. I don't like you. I will never like you. I guess a better example of this would be the Kingdom Come Deliverance games. They have a really obvious historical context, but you can still do kinda whatever you want, and it's fine because it's fiction. If you want to kill a bunch of people, why not? It's a game. Do you know that games are... Do you know that video games are games? First of all? What a concept. Likewise, says, games are fantastic and allow players to explore complex, interrelated issues and deal with those issues to see how they affect each other. Global conflicts and even environmental issues are especially worthwhile topics for serious games, Zuckerman adds, because you can't really look at one aspect of global warming, for instance, without looking at the myriad of other aspects. Global warming. Is that why women nowadays just wear skimpy clothing? Maybe global warming is actually good, guys. Handling problem subjects like global warming or third world poverty, as in the popular IT, the cost of life, and the only ones tackling in serious games. They keep calling them serious games. I think they're extremely unserious. Because why would you make a game about that? And sure, you can do it, but it's always gonna come off as preachy, because it is preachy. By their own admission. That the genre's most captivating offerings take on topics that are a bit further from the limelight. They present games disaffected, which puts players in the role of employees, forced to service customers under particular competences, coming to a Kinko's store. Bogo says he made the game because Kinko's is a place I both frequent and abhor, and he felt that a satire of it had the opportunity to speak to a whole range of people. But it's a game. You're gonna do stuff in the game that you would never do in real life. Because the consequences for your actions in the game, it's just whatever. Worst case scenario, you just have to restart the game. In real life, it could be career ending or even life ending. How is this a new concept? Getting crappy service at Kinko's is a mundane, everyday experience that all of us have had. Well, I haven't. I don't know what a Kinko is. I know what a Cranko is. It's probably not a goblin in this case. What does it happen? We didn't answer that question in the game, but we offer players the chance to step behind the counter and imagine what forces might be driving these dissatisfied workers. Simple incompetence, sedition, labor issues. Similar questions are addressed in another of Persuasive Games offerings. Airport insecurity. It's another everyday experience that I hope players did start to ask questions about. Bogo says, I'm really much more interested in the mundane than the serious. It's just that our work often breaks a lot of unspoken rules about what can be represented in a video game. But at the same time, isn't this just kind of simulation games? It's not a new concept, and they don't have to be serious games, political, ideological in nature. I don't know, let's say, what was that game that everybody was playing a month ago? Fast Food Sim? Yeah, you can probably see the issues with that game too, because it's still working at the fast food place. But it's not trying to be preachy, it's trying to be fun. I guess an extreme game. But it's still a game. It looks to be kind of fun, I suppose, if you like those kind of games. You don't need to be preachy about it. People know why. People at fast food places, they really get paid a lot. They're usually young people with low skills, and you don't really need high skills to flip burgers or anything. That's what their entry-level jobs. But they're gonna be crappy. That's normal, I guess. I don't know. They're just trying to be preachy without understanding the world they live in. And this is 2007, not 2025. Nothing has changed. The same can be said for the products of the Italian video game collective, the Industria, headed up by Paolo Pedrocini. I was correct, it was Italian. One of the studio's best known releases is the McDonald's video game, which puts players behind the counter into the back office of the world's most famous and infamous fast food chain. The lesser known Tematipico, on the other hand, focuses on the often ignored world of flex workers, while another La Industria offering Queer Power. Welcome to Queer Land. There's a queer side to word. Queer theory. It's not 2014. It's not 2016. It's not 2020. It's not 2022. It's not 2025. This was out in 2007. You cannot tell me I'm the guy that's trying to push ideology in video games and whatnot. I'm not the guy that's trying to push discourse of this sort of thing in video games. It's been happening for close to 20 years. So do not tell me this is not happening. It is happening, and by their own admission, they're being preachy about it. Because it is supposed to be activism, by their own admission. I see a lot of cartoons and movies that deal with gender issues. Gender. But video games too often spread homophobic messages. Homophobic? I will need a citation. But the genius says of the thought process behind queer power, which involves the fighting game archetypes created by arcade-style beat'em ups like Capcom's seminal Street Fighter 2. Okay, I have to admit, I'm not a huge Street Fighter fan, okay? I played the game like a couple of times. I was a little kid. There was an arcade machine and I played with my father, okay? I don't remember too much, but I had to ask, how is Street Fighter homophobic? I don't get it. Don't they also have like a bunch of women that are pretty cool and pretty famous? Like Chun-Li and Cammy? I understand they are not gay, but I don't think they're trying to push the feminine to be down or anything. Game conventions are strongly biased by cultural and ideological values, the developer says. Overturning those cliches is a way to play with players' expectations and push them to reflect on the stereotypes in commercial games. You people. You people! Now it's not happening. It's been happening for 20 years. We have the proof here. And game conventions are strongly biased by cultural and ideological values. I can give them the benefit of the doubt and say, I see cultural being something strong where you take stuff for the games. But at the same time, why is that wrong? I don't think it is. At the same time, you had to say that culture has been shaped by the people living there, history, religion, art, many things. So let's say, if you're a Japanese guy, especially 20 years ago, and you were making a Japanese game, well, it's a Japanese game because you're Japanese, but you're making a game for a Japanese audience, because of course you are, because it's Japan, it makes sense. It's gonna be culturally Japanese. Why is that wrong? It's not. But once again, these people are fucking commies. And they keep subverting everything from the culture because they have to. Because Western culture wouldn't allow for Marxist values. And they probably don't understand what they're trying to do. Offering games alternative points of view, Isikul Petuccini and his crew said for each of La Molindustries releases. We believe that if we want to have an impact on society, we must influence mainstream pop culture. This has to be one of the most narcissistic things I've read today. And we've read Adi Shankar already, okay? We want to have an impact on society. We must influence mainstream pop culture. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's my main problem. Because I just want to be left alone. And I don't want to get into anybody's businesses. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I have to tell them how to live their lives because I'm always correct. It's mostly a joke. Is it? Virginia says, the progressive forces always ignore the importance of pop culture in the opinion-making process. Conservatives, he adds, have the practice down pat, just like at TV shows like Dallas. It's just like a time machine. It's like a time machine. This is literally why they hijacked the hobbies. To push their propaganda. They're literally saying it here. It's insane. Who needs fun? I don't know, it's a game, it's a hobby, it's supposed to be at least entertaining. Play a few rounds of queer power, I don't think it will, and you'll quickly realize that having fun isn't the point. Then it's not a really good game, is it? Nor is the point of any of Petuccini's games, it seems. Fun is never our main goal, or at least, not the common concept of fun, he says. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These games are not fun. They're just ideological, it keeps happening. Once again, I'm justified in my beliefs, because it's based in reality. Other developers of serious games share Peter Chin's opinion that video games don't have to be fun to be worthwhile. I'm all for escapism, Frask says, but I think that games that deal with serious topics can be more engaging to certain people. Yeah, ideologues just like you, I suppose. For 30 years now, we focus on making games produce fun, as Bagast. Isn't it about time we started working towards other kinds of emotional responses? How many times do I have to say this? Did you know that the video game, above all, has to be a game? It's so obvious. I shouldn't have to say it. But it's been 20 years, I guess. And it's still a point of discussion. I feel like I'm going crazy. More than usual. Because believes that will happen eventually. I know the comparisons to the film industry have grown tired and never used. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet, Bagast. But indulge me in this one. When you watch the Academy Awards this year. Bad example. How many films in the running for awards are about big explosions and other forms of immediate gratification? And how many are about the more complex subtleties of human experience? You cannot tell me these people actually like games. I keep saying this about modern games journalists, and I can say this about these ideologues from 2007, because they keep falling for the same pitfall. They try to be so deep and profound, trying to push their fucking agenda, while completely disregarding their whole hobby. They're trying to get in, or allegedly are in. How many are about the more complex subtleties of human experience? How many story-driven games have you played in your entire life? I love RPGs, so I'm gonna say, trust me, I played a handful of those. And they can be really deep, and they can be very complex, and they can be quite interesting, just from the plot point. But they're still fun games, because they still have mechanics, and the mechanics are good, they're entertaining, and they actually produce an actual game. Trying to reduce, especially in 2007, games as big explosions and other forms of immediate gratification, it's just clown behavior. At this point in time, we have already the best RPGs in history. Chrono Trigger was out, Dragon Quest 8, and Dragon Quest 3 were out. 7 too, I suppose, but that's not what I was trying to say. You had Final Fantasy 6 and 7 already out, even though they're not actual RPGs. And the plot's kind of a thing that exists. You had stuff like The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, which offers a really interesting portrayal of fucking Ganondorf of all people. Are you gonna tell me this is just big explosions and immediate gratification? Get your head out of your fucking ass and get your ass out of your fucking ideology. Insanity! Someday, hopefully someday soon, we'll look back at video games and laugh at how unsophisticated we are today. Because ads, it's like going to the Cineplex and every screen is showing a Michael Bay flick. Congratulations! Those deep video games are probably the worst I've ever seen in my life. Both from the mechanics, but because they're extremely simplified, and from the storytelling point of view, because it's so simplistic and extremely boring. Nobody likes it. Case in point, Dragon Age the Veilguard. Tigerman offers up, in similar comparison to the movie industry, we're forecasting the future of the serious games movement. It took a while for film to start taking a look at serious issues. She says, we didn't see documentaries come to the fore until the late 60s or early 70s. So it's going to be a little while before serious games hit their stride and gain mainstream attention. It will get there, Sigerman adds. It has to. It's such a natural fit. It did, but I don't think it worked as you thought it would. So congratulations, you played yourself. I think it happens a lot. I need to blow my nose, it's getting really stuffy. I'm gonna mute for a second, please. I was about to say, please understand, but I think I only said please. Thing that came out that's really funny. So this shit has been happening for far too long than anybody actually expected. And it's only getting worse. Because I guess the companies are drinking this thick Kool-Aid. It's not working. Because you fail at the beginning. You cannot compare movies to video games, because watching a movie is a passive action, but playing a game is an active action. You will always be more engaged to a video game than to a movie, because you have to play the game. You have to interact with the game constantly, even with visual novels. So no, documentary can work as a movie, because it's gonna be what, like 2 hours of a passive action. That's cool. It can never work as a video game, because it's gonna be what, at least 15 hours of an active action. You're trying to act under your own free will in the game, but the game is gonna be preaching to you for at least 15 hours, and you expect this to be successful? No, it's not. It's not gonna be successful because you fail at the beginning. Fucking ideologues, dude. And I was scouring the depths of the internet when I got to this funky tweet from Grunts. It's so weird that gamers would hope that the game fails. That's so toxic. Also same people, Starship blew up again. And I guess there's some political unrest right now with Elon and whatnot, because he was working for Trump and whatever. I don't care about that right now. How many times are we saying, you're not a true gamer if you want games to fail? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. This is just pure Stockholm syndrome at this point. These games have been getting worse and worse for 20 years. A bunch of them are ideologically driven to push an agenda. Games that were good now are just trash because they keep being simplified versions of the better game. Oh, look at that! They're gonna release a new remake! Surely it's gonna be lacking content. Surely it's not gonna be censored. Surely it's gonna be better than the original. And I understand the concept that some people have of cutting your losses with video games. I truly understand it, because I'm somewhat in the same boat. Sure, is the game gonna be bad? So be it. Collapse. I don't care. But at some point, you need to understand that we're living in sheer insanity. How is it possible nowadays that AAAs are just bad games? How is it possible that you have companies like Square Enix that the components of said company give us some of the best games in video game history? Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII. Pick any Dragon Quest that you like, for example. There I mention once again Background to Story. They were huge games. I only discovered this recently, but Background to Story had a perfect score in Famitsu, of all things. Huge games. And nowadays, they're going to release a new game, and you know it's not gonna be good enough. You know it's gonna be worse. How is it possible that people keep talking about Final Fantasy 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and even 10, which I'm pretty sure 10 is more than 20 years old right now, and you don't really have people talking about 12, 13, 15, or even 16. And half the time, when they talk about 16, it's kind of political discourse, I feel, which is strange. You have more people talking about Final Fantasy VII, the original release, than the remake they are releasing nowadays. It's clear these games are not good. It's clear they are assuming they have a constant fanbase that will always play the games. So it's fine if they don't pander to them. And you know what? I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of games I liked becoming games I don't like. I do like complex games because it's that complexity in video games that make them so appealing to me. If you can do just whatever in the game, press the A button and win, where's the fun in that? If the game's just going to auto-dodge or auto-parry, where's the fun in that? Yes, that's in reference to that old clip of Final Fantasy 16. And you will have people still batting for these strange companies. Oh, but it has Final Fantasy in the title. Of course it's a Final Fantasy game. Yes, but draw me the parallels between, let's say, Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, they have completely different mechanics. So that old meme we have in my friend group of, yeah, Final Fantasy was good up until 10. I don't know, I think I'm justified in thinking that. Because I've tried 12 and I didn't like it. I was 40 hours in. The game was so extremely boring and I didn't care about the plot. I was close to finishing the game, but I got so extremely bored and so extremely annoyed that I refused to touch that game again. It is that bad. It is that bad, and I thought I would like 12, of all things. I don't want to touch anything else. And of course, sure, maybe some of these companies are extremely greedy, right? Of course they're trying to pander to a lot of people, so they're trying to make games for a lot of people. Well, I don't want games for a lot of people, I want games for me. Sure, I consider myself a Zelda game fan. I don't like Breath of the Wild. I don't like Tears of the Kingdom, and I never said they're bad games. But draw me the parallels between Breath of the Wild and the old games. Where are the magic items? Where are the dungeons? They're nowhere to be seen. And I guess you still have battles because of the shrines. It's not for me, man. It's not for me. But people will like Far Cry Hyrule. Ah, it's the new game. It's so good. Look! Such an expansive open world. Wow, do you have anything to do in it? Not really. Because that happens with a lot of games. It's this strange gaming singularity. You have, I was about to say the two genders, I guess it's three? Because if it's a multiplayer PvP, it's gonna be a battle royale. But if it's not, it's gonna be either babies first, hack and slash, or just an open world game. And even though I do believe some of these games can benefit from being open world, like Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet was actually kind of boring at the end of the day because you didn't really have a lot of content. The content was exploring, but exploring was not fulfilling because there was nothing really to find. And at this point in time, I have to say, yes, I want the games to fail. Yes, I want companies to fail. They need to crash and burn. At least some of them. Because it's the only way for them to course correct into making good games again. And I'm not saying they have to release the best RPG ever. It's not gonna happen. People will always consider Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII, or Chrono Trigger as the best RPGs, and that's fair. But they have to give you something. And it's insane, especially insane, when you have some of these companies, like Sony, not even begging you, because I could understand the companies begging to you. No, they're not even begging you to buy the games. They're demanding you buy the games. So finally, they can fund new and exciting IPs. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not running a charity here. Are you out of your mind? Why would I buy a game that's gonna be on average $70 that I'm not going to like for the promise of perhaps at some point making a good game again? No, make the good game now. If you make the good game now, if it's good enough, I will buy it and I will play it. But you're not making good enough games. And of course, to steal scratching some money out of your pockets, they have to release these mirrored remakes and remasters. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of this. How many more times are you going to release these games? In a broken status. Sometimes with even less content than the original. Stop it. Stop it. And yes, at this point in time, I have to say, I'd rather have a game that I enjoy and I loved remain dead, so it can remain good, than being paraded as some sort of corpse or skin suit for I still don't know what reason. Because I do actually enjoy these APs, I do actually enjoy this hobby, but these people are making it so difficult for me to enjoy new games because they're really that bad. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. I shouldn't have to say this all the time, but I guess I have to. It's insanity. I'm so sick of this. I'm so fucking sick of this. What else do we have here? Guess we have a bunch of I wish we can go through this one a little bit fast, right? Because this is really funny. And you're very determined, suddenly, to see your game fail. Former Dragon Age writer calls out anti-fans who put games failing before lunch. Because they know they're gonna be trash. Because you keep releasing games that are worse and worse, and people expect to keep paying more and more. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you, buddy. Former Bioware writer David Gay, who worked on the lines of Baldur's Gate 2, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, and the first 3 Dragon Age games, not including Veilguard, personally spoke out about an issue he dubbed anti-fans. Interview with Games Radar. We think it happened time and again. A subset of players and content creators catch wind of some detail they don't like in a project and make it a personal mission to spend the lead up to launch bashing the game as much as humanly possible. Sometimes they'll claim victory with silly flops like Concord or Dragon Age the Veilguard, and otherwise pretend like nothing ever happened when a target game reviews and sells well like Assassin's Creed Shadows. Holy fucking Kool-Aid! You cannot tell me that Concord or Dragon Age the Veilguard were good games or people enjoyed them. They failed because they were ass, and you cannot tell me that Assassin's Creed Shadows actually sold a lot. We know that's a lie. They kept parading, oh look at these, 3 billion players. Yeah, thanks to Game Pass. If Assassin's Creed Shadows was such a success, the company shouldn't have collapsed as it did. The difficulty is if suddenly you end up with anti-fans, then you turn from what you want, fans who'd go out and spread word of your game and get people interested, said Guider. If you get anti-fans, they sort of do the opposite. They're very determined, suddenly, to see your game fail as sort of a lesson to others who'd make games of the same type, right? And that, honestly, these days, there's some element of that present in almost all fandoms. It's always sort of been there for RPGs in particular. You can only blame yourself for this. You can only blame yourself for this. Because it was you that made the game to be worse. To have ideological talking points. To be just a mangled mess of what it should have been. Because you keep calling them anti-fans. No, they're actual fans. But they don't like the anti-product you're making. What about that? That makes more sense. That makes more sense. He went on to explain how he's seen fandom culture exacerbate this problem. More and more fandoms are making the things that they're fans of integral to their identity. If it's integral to their identity, anything that affects it or insults them, he said. They're so invested in making it what they imagine that, like he said, if they turn into the anti-fan, suddenly it's their personal investment in seeing that fail, or seeing the developers who made that decision be punished. I don't know how to tell you this. These are the consequences to your actions, not the fans. And sure, I do understand that there are some fans that are overzealous. Sure, that is true, that is real, we've all seen that. But at the same time, this is trust that goes both ways. As long as you deliver, they will be fans, they will want the product, and they will praise the product. But you keep changing the product into something that's completely different, because you cannot tell me that the Veilguard, mechanics-wise, or lore-wise, or storytelling-wise, had to do anything to do with the other Dragon Age games. And I know this is true, while never have played the fucking Dragon Age game. You only need to see comparisons, you only need to see people that actually enjoy these IPs saying, this is completely different, this is just trash, this is quite unplayable, these characters are so annoying, they're so unbearable, and you cannot even kill them like in other games. This is your fault. You now have to deal with the consequences of your own actions. That's what you get. You get what you fucking deserve, you gator guy. Going together, this type of hostility is pushing a lot of game developers to minimize their public presence. It will not help them. That can have the adverse effect of making it harder for developers to interact with non-hostile players. Find needles of genuine criticism in the hay bale of angry culture war comments. Angry culture war comments. Well, it was the game that introduced the culture war to the game itself. So, who's really to blame here? Oh, reactionaries. Well, they wouldn't react if there wasn't an action to react to. Unfortunately, the media and cultural environment that produces this behavior doesn't seem likely to change anytime soon. We're even already gearing up for the next flashpoint, alongside genuine concerns about Marathon's genre shift from Destiny and well-known criticism of plagiarism from the artist anti-real. A subset of players appears to have become invested in it financially, in the mean-spirited way Gato described. Yes, because it's the only way for you to understand that your actions have consequences, and your actions are making the game's worse, so you must have a consequence that affects you directly. So if you keep making trash, you cannot be rewarded. It has to stop, here and now. And if for you to understand that, we need the games to fail, and the companies to collapse, so be it. I will not cry for you. It is by your own hand that this is happening. Extremely funny. I guess we still have more EA stuff. This is absolutely beautiful. EA cancels Black Panther game. Cliffhanger Games, the developer working on the game, has also been shut down. I could go over this, but it doesn't really matter. This is extremely funny. This is just extremely funny. Because this Cliffhanger Games was a studio that we've seen, I don't know if it was last year or 3 years ago. They had a... I think it was in the video here on stream. There was this African American chick I was talking about how diverse the studio was, and how they didn't have any of those pesky white people, because they could be, oh, it's really toxic and offensive. I wonder what happened. Yeah, just having minorities doesn't mean you're gonna make a good game, or you're gonna make a game at all. Because did you know that your ethnicity doesn't play a role in how skilled you are? Whoa! Shocker, I know. I know. Funny. Absolutely fucking hilarious, man. Absolutely fucking hilarious. It's just the juxtaposition of the two events, right? I wonder what happened. Well, who knows? And since we were talking about Zelda games, I think I need to mention this a little bit, right? I've been this fucking tweet being paraded around. Hunter Schafer supposedly being eyed to play Princess Zelda in the live-action Legend of Zelda film. This is bait. This is pure bait. This is lame and gay. Extremely gay, derogatory. This information comes from a guy that misses a lot, and the source is a PR firm that works with this guy, because this is a guy. And we'll tell you, but it just looks like the character. Yeah, and like 3 pictures. If you watch the video, with this guy actually acting, this post may contain spoilers, sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. It doesn't look really Zelda-like. And to be fair, the voice is not that egregious. But you cannot tell me this looks like Princess Zelda. And of course, I've seen the discourse running around this, right? I guess I can just leave this up. I don't really have a lot of stuff to show, but it's okay. I do believe this is psyop. Just purely a psyop. Because you have people saying, well, maybe they should use this actress or this other actress. It would be better. No. Do you want to know my opinion of all of this? Sure. Casting this guy to play Princess Zelda, massive I'll take. But you know what? The movie's gonna be trash anyway, because it's live action. Why would you make a live action Zelda movie? It doesn't make any sense. I don't think you can get any actor that's gonna be in any way, shape or form a good fit for the main characters. Not Zelda, not Link, and above all, not Ganondorf. So this is gonna be a failure anyway. But this comes to show the kind of people that are trying to promote some agenda, and it has to be agenda, okay? This is ideologically driven. People call them tourists. No, they're illegal immigrants, because they're here to stay and to make everything worse. And you're supposed to be shamed for not wanting them here. Because I've seen people talking about this, and I guess no art is gonna be good enough because they can get an elf to play Zelda. And these people are supposed to be fans of the game. Have you played any fucking Zelda game? Hylians are not elves. They have pointy ears, but they are humans. They are quite literally humans. Sure, they might have magical powers, but that's it. They are humans. That's it. We also have Shake Discourse in the big old 2025. It's a man, she can just transform. Do you understand the concept of posing as a man so the King of Evil doesn't kidnap you? Yeah, that's what happened. Officially, Chick is a woman. Because the guys that made the game said so. Are you fucking out of your fucking mind? Yes, they are. They don't understand anything. They have the same idea I had when I was like 8. And I didn't really know too much about the games. Which is really funny. The media literacy. These guys are quite literally illiterate. Which is so extremely funny. Because the game is really obvious about this. Have you ever played Ocarina of Time? Considered the best game of all time by a lot of people? You're not. As Link, you're not an elf. They call you the fairy boy because you have a fairy. It's not a reference to him being part of the Fae. He's not an elf. If anything, it would be the Kokiri, the ones that play the role of elves. He's not a Kokiri, he's a Hylian. He's a human. It's stated directly in the game. How stupid you people can fucking be! Oh my god. But people don't understand about elves, magic, or reincarnation. Sure, everything goes. Just give him a plane at this rate. I don't fucking care. This is gonna be a disaster, no matter what. But at least this is helping us discover these illegal immigrants of the hobby. But I love Zelda games. Maybe you should play them at some point. You're not a Persona fan, after all. And what do we have? I guess we can finish this with something a little bit more lighthearted for once. At this part here. This hasn't commits about. I should start from the quote tweet, I suppose. Lego Project cost him 200,000 and 2 merges, but it's the coolest thing I've ever fucking seen. We have this play, I guess.
This is my life.
We don't need to listen to the guy. And here we have Sour Patch Lids, former worker for Team Pool, saying, "My husband commits about an hour a day to his hobbies. That is sustainable, and this is not. It's something boys do, not men." Guys, if your wife treats you like she's your mother, that's not a wife, okay? I'm old enough to know how much time I should or shouldn't be spending in my hobbies. I don't need a limit of 1 hour for video games a day, okay? I'm not a little kid anymore. What the fuck? Is this the base people you want around? Huh? I don't think so. I don't think so. And speaking of wives, I suppose, I should have this one. Tinder's implementing a height filter for users. The change will allow women to generally filter out men below their preferred height. Why do people use Tinder anyway? Just a fact, so don't use it. We have Sabi here. I support this. You can filter out single mothers and women over 160 pounds. Equality, you know? True and real. Or are they adding the single mom filter? Do we get the weight filter? How about the weight filter? It keeps happening. It only makes sense. It only makes sense. Do yourself a favor. Never get into Tinder. It's just trash. It's just absolute trash, man. Oh, man. Oh, fuck me. This mouse is screwing me over today. I don't know why. It's a little bit messy. Just a little bit messy. Fucking games journalists. Fucking ideologues. They drive me nuts constantly, man. But it's something that has to be said. I get passionate about video games because I like video games. And of course, I don't want my video games to become something they are not. It's really easy to understand. And they will call me anti-fan, toxic, or whatever. You know what? Sure, just don't call me a gamer, okay? Just don't call me a gamer. I don't want games to fail. And I don't care. Anyway, guess it's time for me to take my leave. The other day we went the usual amount, fun enough. But yeah. So, thank you for coming. I hope you had some fun. We had to fend off the ideologues today. Happens from time to time, it's been a while. And we'll come back spiritual on Monday with more Moimon. We're gonna have a chill week. And then the week after we will have anniversary. I think it's on Wednesday, so that's nice. And then we ball, baby. Then we ball. So thank you for coming. Hope you have some fun. See you all on Monday. Until then, you know the rules. Take care. And don't let these people shame you just because you enjoy the hobby.